Good morning, good morning, good morning. Uh-oh, one sec. Pro streamer or what? Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Phil, I am the Down Under Maker. Sorry about that. My daughter was in here watching a little bit of TV while I was doing some work yesterday, and the TV was still turned up too loud, so it was reverbing and all that stuff. So, we are still working on our roadie truck build. It is going pretty well. We've been a bit slower than I was hoping, but we are now starting to get to the point where it's looking something like a car. I can see that we've got a whole bunch of the usual suspects in chat. We've got Nick, Shrimp Father, Zybertech, and I saw a few other people, GTR Dad, etc., were hanging around. Now, I was hoping that Keela would be here, but she's not. But anyway, I have a wildlife video to show you guys that was from Dashcam Owners Australia. So basically people, hi Brad, people driving around and have their dash cams on and crazy stuff happens. This one fortunately doesn't have any bad language in it. But if you do happen to go watch their videos, it's very, very not family friendly in terms of the language that's in use. So let's have a quick look at this, and hopefully Keela can catch this on the VOD later on. So let me see if I can get my mouse. So have a look at here. That is an emu, and it's attacking a guy who's about 6 feet tall for scale. Isn't that cool? Random bird on the side of the road. Now, I've had a look at these GPS coordinates at the bottom of the screen, and they don't work. Guys might not be able to see them in the overlay. But this car driver actually stopped to allow this guy to get into his car so he could escape from the emu attack. Isn't that wild? Let's hit that and get rid of it. Back to me for a minute. Okay, let's clear that screen off and swap back to the stuff that's a bit more appropriate for the stream. Now, where we're at, we have a half-rolling chassis. That one. It's getting there. The front wheels aren't actually on, they're just pushed onto the hubs just to make sure that they fit. We have the hood or bonnet or whatever you want to call it ready to go into place. And we are working on the suspension and the cab. So, question for you in chat. Do you guys want me to work on the suspension or the cab today? We can probably get both done, but which order do you want them in? Do you want the cab first, or do you want the rear suspension first? And while you guys make up your minds, I will just put this back for a second. Was he wanting to sell him insurance? Yeah, the wildlife here on the side of the roads, yeah, it can come for you. Last time I was up in the very north of Western Australia, we were in a small town called Exmouth, which is next to the US Air Base called Learmonth. Hi, Da Vinci! And the emus were just simply wandering through the streets of the town and causing mayhem. They were wandering in and out of the bottle shops, in and out of the bakery. Yeah, and there's nothing you can do because they're sort of not protected, but it's just an unwritten rule you don't mess with them because they'll probably mess with you back. Unfortunately, it's not an adult beverage. I've been told I need to drink more water, so I've been drinking a lot of cordial. So, suspension from Zybertech, and nobody else has made anything in the way of a definitive remark. So that's what we would do. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit of a rinse and repeat of what we did last week because it's the second half of the rear suspension that we're going to be working on. So let's just jump over to the manual so you guys can see what's going on. Oh, what do you think of the new overlay? Steve Builds was kind enough to show me how he handled the voodoo at his end. And that means that I now have a much better chat overlay, and hopefully it should be a lot more readable. So we need to start here. So we did one of these assemblies last week because there's both a a rear set of wheels, and then there's the middle rear set of wheels. So this will be the other half of that assembly. Now, let's just bring up that one for a moment. Now, just showing you guys to make sure that we're all on the same page. This wishbone, for lack of a better description, this wishbone doesn't have this sticky outy bit on it. So that's what makes them different. Other than that, they're basically an identical build. So let's go to here. And Chrome. There we go. You should be able to see top down, and you should be able to see me. And sooner or later, I'll probably drag in the other camera, but I don't want to mess with it on stream because things then blow up. We know that that goes that way up because I'm using the other one as a reference. Now, I quickly put all this together off stream because we've already seen this, so I didn't want to slow things down any more than we had to with this part of the assembly process. Just making sure that the tongue on the motor housing, sorry, the tongue on the motor fits into the tongue where the axle is, because the axle is already installed. Next, we need to put the other half of the motor shell into place and screw it together. We need a whole bunch of M312s. Jex is spamming because he wants number 1 apparently. 1, 2, 3, 4 M312s. And a screwdriver would probably be a good idea. Now, Jex, don't get too carried away, otherwise your mod privileges go away. You guys will notice I'm pretty liberal with who gets mod rights. It's more a case of they're very, very limited in what they can do, but mostly it's to allow you guys to be able to post links into chat. So please don't abuse it, and then everybody gets to live happily. Now, Martin has been around for a while and has been behaving himself. Can I do it from here or not? No, I can't do it from there. Maybe I can do it from here. There we go. Martin gets a spanner too. So, how's everybody's week been? An RC backhoe or track hoe? Rigged. No. We all thought we were special. Oh, Brad's special. Let's make him one too. And Da Vinci's been around forever. And what the heck? Spanners for everybody! And if you misbehave, just know that it'll be taken away without warning. No. I told you guys last week that we've ordered a new car. What else is going on in life? Oh yeah, Phil won a Core 1. I was on the Nomads Galaxy stream over the weekend, and I know some of you other guys were. And I'd actually stopped washing because I was having to get the kids ready for going out. And then all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. I get messages from Kegel. I think I got one from Jex and one from Nick. All going, dude, you won. And I'm like, wait, what? And funny story, I'd just been talking to my wife before I finished watching about bidding on the LDO kit that Jason had offered. And she's like, dude, you've got way too many printers already. You're not getting any more. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, also, we're broke. We've just bought a new car. So I went, yeah, cool, no worries. And went about the rest of my day going, oh, yeah, sure. And then all of a sudden, I get this message going, you've won, you've won, you've won. And I'm like, sweet. How do I explain it to my wife? So I can't remember who it was. It might have been Kegel. He actually was kind enough to send me a screenshot. And I'm like, look, I didn't buy it. I won it. So yeah, she's still not happy that I'm getting more printers, but so while I've been talking, I've just been assembling all of this, and I'm up to the bit that is the most annoying. Need that and that. So what's going on? I have, these are the axles going through the middle that connect to the motor. I need to make sure that this housing is pushed in just as much as this housing, and it's an exceedingly tight fit because it needs to be. So what I need to do is I need to prop this up high enough and support it well enough to be able to really lean on it with a lot of weight and press it into place. Oh. That's not really going in as well as I would like. I have another one of these printed out pieces that I can use to whack it with. It's somewhere. I just have to go by hand for a minute. Let's move that out of the way for a moment. Oh. Making progress. So this is the side that's being pressed in, that's the normal side. Spits on the end. Dude! You can always spot the Aussies in chat will be the crudest. And Jex in particular will hold that standard for us. Won't you, Jex? Yeah, Martin gets around Jex, didn't you know that? So, other updates. Next week, I'm planning on streaming one day earlier, directly after Keela and Jeremy's Lee Marie 3D stream. It's school holidays here, and I will have kids at home. And in order to be able to do that, the best day to do that is my Wednesday, which is your Tuesday night. And that means the kids will be at daycare rather than at home annoying me and getting in the way of building things. There's always so many... Dude! You're a grandfather now. You're too old for that sort of comment. So what we've done is we've got the axle into place. And now we need to move to the next part. We need to put the screws through the axle, which are M316s. Now, I know I'm not following the instruction manual particularly closely, partially because we've already seen this done before, and partially because it's not really following the order of operations that makes life easy. One. Correction sheet. Oh, you mean my wife bought the new car. That's right. Well, I'm saying we because I want to drive it. That's fair, I think. Now, since ordering the car, she's then gone on AliExpress, and we have about 7 or 8 orders incoming from AliExpress for accessories, things like floor mats, boot linings, so trunk protectors, and that sort of stuff. Some of which will arrive probably during the stream. And if it does, I will need to put you guys on pause for a second because the rain here is appalling today. In fact, Jex, you haven't washed away yet. What's going on? All up the east coast of Australia at the moment, guys. There's major storms going on. And we nearly got lucky. Jex nearly washed away. Some nice reverse ASMR for you guys. You can get anything on AliExpress, Jex. And it was a lot cheaper than the factory genuine stuff as well. Certainly, well, it does appear to be all the factory genuine stuff, but sold by dealers in China rather than locally. Why would you want to move to a flood zone, Jax? So, just showing you guys, all 4 of the screws are in as per this. All in 3/16 all the way around. Moving on to the next. Zybertech, a lot of the stuff that's coming either today or tomorrow was ordered was ordered 6 days ago. So it's going to be 6 to 7 days delivery. And that's pretty much normal now. So now we need a whole bunch of M36. 1, 2, another 2. Put those in here. Jax, you obviously haven't ordered recently, man. Like, everybody's getting it in about a week. So, just make sure these holes are lined up. Yeah, 1, 2, 10 business days for Chicago. That's not too bad either. Haven't used them since you had to do the chargeback on the V02. What happened with your V02, Brad? There. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these M36s installed. Moving on to the next part. Now we need the wishbone and we need the shroud. Where's the shroud? There's the shroud, and it's just pushing them into place, and we need those 2 nuts. And we remember the last time we were working on this, we said we were going to do 2 stainless nuts and 2 black nuts to help tell the difference. And they're there. We can actually pop those nuts in after we put the wishbone in, so that's what we're going to do. So let's make sure we've got this the right way up. I've just unsoldered the solder joint. So I suspected it might happen. Soldering iron is on and warming up. Rather than having to run out to the powder room, I've got myself a little bottle of water to top up the sponge with. Solder is right here. Where are my little scissors? Hemostats? No. Just razor bladed, I think. So I'm just going to razor blade through the Kapton tape, or in this case, because it's the knockoff stuff, Cop10. It looks like I was being a little bit too frugal with the solder on that joint anyway. So soldering iron is coming up to temperature. You'll notice that I've now changed the way I've set up everything. Soldering iron is actually held off camera in a much safer spot where I'm a lot less likely to burn myself on it. So just pull that tab up a little bit, make it clear. Hemostat ready to hold the wire. And that's coming up to temperature. So, I've never had that sort of experience with AliExpress, Brad. The one time I had a misdelivery, I took a photograph of my the front of my house, for them to compare against the delivery photograph, and they immediately refunded. That's better. Switch that off, put that there. Where did I put the Kapton tape there? Don't forget, if you're buying from places like West 3D, you can use the 5% discounts off each of the big streamers one after another. So if you haven't already done so, you can use Steve Build's, Pezliz, Zombie Hedgehog, Lemuri 3D. I assume Digital Dragon has one, and all those sort of people. I really need to get my act together and get them to sort me out with a code for you guys, but I think for most of my audience it's going to be of limited benefit, so I haven't really rushed to get that done yet. So, quick soldering fix done. Where were we at? We were going to put the wishbone in. Let's make sure I've got this all the right way up. That way. That way. You can't stack the discounts, but you can use one from each. Hi, Steve. Everybody, thanks, Steve, for the much better chat overlay, please. So wishbone is in. Now for the shroud. Shroud goes on the nut side. Now it looks like on the instruction manual, let me bring this instruction manual back up. It looks like you put the shroud into the wishbone before you put the whole thing together. And that's what it all indicates. It's way easier to fit the wishbone first and then snap the shroud in after that. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to pop the two little captured M3 nuts into place. Will it fit? That's the question. I think there may be a little bit of swarf in that hole. Yes, there is. It depends, Jex. Like, if you combine the discounts of the 5% from the various creators and then get it on a sale, sometimes it works out. That's what I did with my box turtle. I managed to get it that they had a sale on for pre-orders, and the exchange rate would just happen to be good on that particular day, and I got the 5% from Jeremy and Keela, the Lemuri 3D code. And because of how West 3D do it, next time I could use Steve's code. Let's go back to that one so you can see a bit better. All right. So we've got the two captured M3 nuts into place. These ones here are pushed in. So let's move on to the next page. Next is two M320s, which I keep over here. I already had one, so let's just go with that. If there's one in here, it probably means there's another on the floor somewhere. The one, just going to your comment, Jex, the comment I have about cyborg kits, amazing value for money, but The filament that they're using, it's either really good or really bad depending on the day of the week that they printed it or whatever's going on in that factory, because I had some parts on my V0 actually shatter, explode. I mean, the best JST crimper I've got is the one that came in the Cyborg V0 0.1 kit. That's why I'm having difficulties. I'm like, why does this screw feels like it's about to bottom out? It's because I'm missing the suspension capture. So this part here is what I forgot to put into place. And I'm still in love with these hex drivers. I think it was Nick put me onto them. They are great fit on all these screw heads. It's nice and secure, but without being sticky tight. So which way around? It goes front to back. Is that there? I can only comment on the Cyborg kit as my mate and I built our V0s in tandem. Mine was self-sourced and his was Cyborg. I saw him struggling a lot more than I did. What was he struggling with? Because Cyborg is basically a bomb in a box plus printed parts. I'm getting more and more used to using the Stream Deck. So hopefully that means you should be looking at what I want you to be looking at a lot more regularly. The extrusion profiles are different. Yeah, Taylor seems to have strange things going on for him sometimes. I think some of it's that he's trying to do it as a man in the street user without doing a lot of the research first. Because I know when I first started watching him, he was very much all over the reading up ahead and making sure he was on top of it all. But now he's trying to go over to the style of, this is what you would experience if you'd never built your printer before kind of methodology. I can see the validity in both ways. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I went ahead of you guys in the instruction manual on Monday looking for things I might have missed and came across 2 whole plates of printed parts that are referenced in the manual but are not part of this kit. They're part of the other truck kit. So unless you actually read the fine print, you don't even realize that you've missed whole plates of parts. And while these plates wouldn't have been games changing and life stopping, it was annoying. So where are we at? Let's go here. We have the shrouds on. We have the suspension mounts and the screws in. Install the axles. Now we already did the front suspension, so we can skip through this. And we need to do, let's just make sure we've done all of that. Yes, that's all the front suspension. Now we need to fit these rear suspension blocks to the chassis. So here we are. Off stream, I fished the wire out from the front suspension and pulled it through the right hole in the suspension. And next up is, I'm assuming we need to feed all the wiring through and then mount the axles. Now, the instructions don't give any clear details on this part. The swiveling thing on the tool head that destroyed the wires. Yeah, I was probably asleep for that part of the stream because when Taylor streams, it's the middle of the night my time. So if I do manage to make it onto a stream, it's usually in a stupor. So let's have a look at this. M312, that's these guys. There's those guys. Mellow do some things really good. This is an M3 screw gauge. That's an M312. And that just gets included at random when you occasionally order things. In my case, it was actually in the box with the Mellow board that came in my Cyborg kit. Because like I said, when I got my kit, it was basically a bomb in a box kind of situation. And they simply had got all the parts, stuffed them in a box, wrapped in expanding foam, and chucked in the mail. So the flat plate part, so screws go in here. This flat plate appears to point to the front of the vehicle, and that also lines up with that screw. Try and move my hand so you can see a little bit. I can see it in the side view anyway. It's not going to make any difference in the overhead, I don't think. Actually, let's go to the topic I was going to talk about, and I actually mentioned it briefly on Modbot stream earlier. There's two schools of thought when it comes to printer rigidity. And the guy who designed the 100 or the T100, whatever you want to call it, he and I obviously went to this, very similar mindsets in terms of the engineering of printers. Some parts need to be rigid and some parts shouldn't. Where am I going with this? The new T250 that's just launched, in his launch video, he actually talks at length about this, that printers can be too rigid. And when they're too rigid, you end up with situations where you end up with artifacting, and you end up with ringing. And if you just made the printer that little bit less rigid, you may well have been in a situation where the printer would actually be better, because it would be able to soak up some of the vibration and not actually transfer it to the printhead. Or transfer it back to the printhead, should I say. because most of the vibration is coming from slinging the print head around. I'm not sure what motherboard it comes with at the moment, Jex. I got the Gemini 2 with mine because it was a V0.1. I got it on run out clearance for about $400 Australian. And at that stage, that was cheaper than the motherboard, motors, and toolhead equipment. So it was well worth the buy. Let's have a look at this. So where we're at, we have the, I'm assuming they're just simply damping pieces. They're in place. We now need our leaf spring units, and we need to fit that. So it looks like that goes in first. Let's have a look at this. Let's look at the huge logic loop we've got. We go from here to here, but there's no order of operations as to which way to do all this. My gut feeling is we fit the motor first, and then we fit the wishbone, and then we'll fit the rear axle components after. Now, I was warned this might be necessary. That's not nice. I'll have to fix that with some tape in a minute. If you use particularly heavy gauge wire like I have, you have to split the two wires, and have one above and one below. That's very tight. Let's go back to here for you guys. This plate here is actually brushing up against the back of the motor, the back of the diff housing. But it looks like that's what it's supposed to in the manual, but there's no call outs about it. So let's just go with it. We need an M316 to go up the center there. I'm also a little confused as how that tab is supposed to work on the other suspension arm. So what I'm looking at is this piece of plastic is rubbing directly up against that plate. Maybe once the arms are in place, it'll all make more sense. Maybe it's just pushed far enough away that it's not a problem. So next we need to put in the wishbones on M312s. Is that a 12? That's a 12. So there's also a ride height confirmation. We need to put the screw into the lower half and the leaf goes that way. Screwdriver. Biddy, how are you? I caught your CAD stream for a little while the other day. Will I get better vision here? That's better. Get rid of that big screwdriver. So, content going forwards, while I remember. I guess most of you know that I won the Core 1, so my intention is that that's going to be a build series and solve some of my, oh shit, I don't have any content coming up issues. Stuff that cable in there, which gets it to there. Hemostat. Let's take that cover plate off again. Doesn't give us a much better view, but I hope it wasn't too boring. I couldn't really follow a lot of it. You were in the process of trimming down some of the material off the base to allow it to print faster, from what I understood of what was going on. That seems like a good way to deal with that. And I know why that hole is there. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So where are we at? We've got that cable is run all the way through. And now we need to put the other leaf spring on there. That also will need an M316, which is up quite there. Yeah, so going back to that discussion about vibration, the T100, I think he learned a lot from. And he's decided to embrace vibration and absorb vibration rather than just going for, let's make this thing as rigid as possible and pray it doesn't resonate. Which I think is going to confuse a lot of printer people, because a lot of people think the more rigid is more better. And I always point to the example of aircraft wings. Next time you're on an airline flight, have a look at the wingtips. Ah, that's an M312 fill. M316 was through the ball joint. Like, why is the screw poking out the other side? Here's the thing, Jex. If sorry, go back to, let me go to finish off my plane example. If you have a look at an airliner wing as you're taking off, you'll see that the wings are hanging quite low. And as you begin the takeoff roll, the wingtips will actually rise up and be anything up to 3 or 4 feet higher than where they were sitting when they were unloaded. So as the aerodynamic forces take over, they lift the wingtip lifts, and then once all of the flex has been absorbed, that's what then lifts you off the ground. And why do they do that? Because if the wing was rigid and you hit turbulence, if the wing was rigid, it would just simply snap. So you can't have a rigid wing with a big aircraft. It's just not possible. Okay, so we have our 2 leaf springs on. Next, we need to run this cable up through the middle. You must. Now, one thing I realized just before the stream started, and something that is going to be a bottleneck, which means we can't get this actually driving today. I realized that I soldered on the XT60 plug onto the battery pack, and yeah, it doesn't fit. You have to solder that one after everything's put together. Okay, let's go back and have a look at this manual. Zoom in. It's the central one that has the tab. All right, I'm an idiot. Fortunately, this is quite quickly recoverable. But how does that work? Because the tab then won't fit. Okay, let me go back to this manual so you guys can see. Central axle has the tab on. I've got them backwards. That's easily fixed, no big deal. But there's this tab. And that tab will prevent this all from being screwed together properly. So let's just have a look clearly at this. You guys might not be able to see this. There we go. If we have a look here, no tab. Have a look here, no tab. Yet another inconsistency in this manual. that makes my life difficult. It's the exact identical part. There's no slot in that part. And this wishbone is actually longer because it's identical to the front part. Do I have any spares? Yes, I do. Okay, so back to what we're going to do. Part with a tab on it. We're going to unscrew. Hi, Steve. Other Steve, should I say? Steve with a W. Make sure you like. I was actually hoping we'd have the suspension on by now and could start working on the cab. I mean, we're not that far behind, but it is irritating to have got to this point. That can go there. I rejected this part for a reason, and I don't remember what that reason was. So it's entirely possible that this could shatter when I pop the ball joint head in, but we'll keep going and we'll see what happens. Now, I've been asked 3 or 4 times what grease I'm using. This is just the leftovers from the box turtle kit. So it's whatever LDO sent. Plate, parallel pliers. Make sure which way around it goes. That way. Hi, Steve. Steve O. So many Steves. Too many Steves. While everybody's here, I just want to shout out Steve for being an awesome fella. He is printing some parts for me that I need urgently to finish the truck off. And he's just chucked them in the mail for me yesterday. Ready to finish this truck thing next week. And hopefully start the core one. So we have ball joint in place. Just need to get the file. Actually, let's try it with the blade, see if we can move faster. And I'm pretty sure the reason I rejected this part is because there's a bit of elephant's foot on it, and it's a very tight fit. And interference fits either fit or they don't. So let's go back to here. It goes step side away from the nuts, so that way around. Yep, that fits. And back on track, I think. Yeah, Jack Stevo is also on the Bogan server. Top fella. He's another Perthy. Except he lives on the wrong side of the river. He's on the north side. So for the Americans and Ken Americans and Ken Mexicans and all the rest of you guys in the audience who aren't Aussies, Aussies are a little bit tribal. And if you live in the wrong part of town, i.e. back in the day, there wasn't that many river bridges over the Swan River in Perth. So you either knew people on the north side of the river or the south side of the river, because there was only really 3 bridge crossings. So until the 90s, when more bridges were built, it was very, very tribal, and that tribalism has kind of been kept. So if that goes in there. Snap into place. And we're back. Okay, back on track. Get rid of big screwdriver, move that out of the way. Get rid of the solder, get rid of the other solder. I've lost the M36 screw that goes in there. Put that on there to replace it. Now I'm going to guess that we're back up to an M316 for this. Yes, it's another M316. Sadly, I have to visit Geelong a lot, quite regularly. Jex, my wife's auntie and uncle live there. And they do have webbed feet and 3 eyes. So what I'm doing is I'm threading the wishbone into the 2 loops that we mounted onto this suspension arms. I'm aligning the M316 screw with roughly where the hole is in the chassis to screw it to. Pre-drive the screw. Feel it start to skate, so now it's all the way through. I think I might need to open that hole up a little bit. There we go. I'm trying to think of a US city that we could compare to Geelong. Probably some backward yokel town that you guys would be familiar with wherever you live. Right, that seems to work. Flip it over. And we're done. Wiring is in place, motors are all mounted. That seems to articulate as I would expect it to. Let's zoom out a bit on this so we can see a bit better what's going on. Night, Brad. Roady Electronics. I, with your permission, would like to skip this part. I would like to get on to building the cab. At least getting the cab ready to mount on to the body, and we'll work on the electronics next week after I've got those last couple of parts from Steve, so we can deal with that. I am prepared to do most of it, but like I said, I don't really want to unsolder that XT60. So let's put the wheels on. So this is where it says we should be working next. But it also shows you with the wheels on, so anybody's guess. One thing I will show you guys that I've done off stream, I've actually worked very carefully on prepping this side, this side. It's this side. Prepping this half of the so we can now get to access to the battery hole much more easily. That took a lot of very careful filing and sanding to keep it a very nice tight interference fit, so it wouldn't fall off again. But there we are. So skipping over the electronics for now. Wheels, off-road wheels. We already have them made, so it's just a case of bolting them into place. So it's M310s all the way around. That's those, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 by sheer fluke. Let's go that one. Now, let me just show you guys again for familiarity's sake. These are flat-sided round axles, so there's a flat and a flat that grab into the hub of the wheel. So it's just a case of lining that up. So that's nice and snug. There. Now, I know we've been jumping around on topic a little bit, but as you most of you guys know, I do beta testing for a couple of the major manufacturers in this space. What I want to know from you guys is, would you guys be desperately upset if I suddenly replaced a stream in the middle of a series with breaking news kind of content and showing you guys the stuff when it's released? So say we're halfway through the Core 1 series and all of a sudden a manufacturer drops a tool head board and I just paused the build series and went to that instead for a week. Would that upset you guys, or should I do that as a separate stream on a different day or something? Show them when they're released, so at least I've got... It's one of those things where I need to know what you guys want so I can give you what you want. This fit is a lot tighter than the other one. Owie. Let's try... I guess the advantage I've got is over a lot of the influencers. I will have been using this gear for months, probably. So I will be able to give you very clear, very honest answers to questions that a lot of the streamers won't have had time to get to. Right, that one's on. That needs to go that way. And that's on. So now we need more M310s. Oh no, we got them, some of them here. You'd be upset if I didn't share new stuff. Oh, speaking of new stuff, for those of you who don't know, I have soft launched a Discord server. I would put up a post after the stream with the server invite on YouTube. So feel free to join if you feel so inclined. Something's not right with this. That's better. Front wheels, front wheels, front wheels. There. Oh, thanks, Nick. Saving the hassle. See, I knew it was a good idea to give him moderator. Speaking of which, Steve Builds, if you're around, just so you know, you have moderator if you didn't spot it. No, not that one, that one. Wait a minute, it's not showing as you having moderator. There you go. There. Gentlemen, and any ladies if they're about, we have a rolling chassis. Yay! Route those there, those underneath. That's that missing M36. So that's all in place. Let's put the hubcaps in. Now I went for red colored hubs because that's what the Isuzus always used to have when I was growing up as a kid. These are just interference, but they just press in and there's a little groove that they kind of sit against. Yay! So now, next stage, let's screw on a few things onto the hood. Put the rolling chassis out of the way. Now, let's see if I can do this and it work. Will it work? Now, because of how awkward these parts are, I cheated on you guys and I did some of the fitting ahead of time. The lights are notoriously difficult to press in and have them stay in. So I took an hour and I pressed them into place. I put a tiny dab of super glue, which isn't supposed to be necessary, but I just think is, into the groove just to hold the strip light in because it wasn't very secure. And yeah, that's the finished result. So let's move to the hood. Okay, so that's that. So what we need to do first is put the wing panels into place, which go there and there. Let's dig out a bunch of M36s. Do I have my magnet around for ease? No, I don't. Now, because of how fiddly these parts are, I'm going to preload the screws into them before I attach. Oh, for those who are interested, strange stats, because those sort of things amuse me. There is almost a pound or 450 grams of screw hardware in this build. Now, I might run a little bit over my usual streaming window, but I'm not going to just go ahead and marathon this to the end, because I don't think it's fair on those people who normally come to my stream, and I know it's late for the US especially. So I don't think it's fair to just leave those people behind. So that's all in place. That slots into there with another M36. Yes, it's an M36. That just doesn't want to bite. So let's try the other side. That fits. That's better. Don't know what was causing it last time, but it's bit immediately this time. That's looking quite truck-like. I already had the grill in place from a couple of weeks ago, so let's just quickly go over this. Grill's in, side fenders are on, lights are screwed in place. How many M36s is it? It's 3 of them. Already got 1. 2 more. Now, Jex or Steve, or actually anybody who's around for that matter, I'm going to need a little bit of a hand to adjust some of my camera setup during the week so that it's ready for streaming something a little bit bigger size-wise, so for doing the build of the Core 1. So what I might do is create a video voice channel on my Discord server, and then I can project into there like it's YouTube, and we can play around with the framing and stuff, if you guys don't mind being guinea pigs. Now, in the absence of any more instructions, I'm going to go ahead and put the screw into the middle one first. Then I'm going to do the far side one from me because of the torque from the screw wanting to twist it. Now I'm going to do the other side. Now the center screw you have to be super careful with because it's actually only 3/4 of a hole. Let me show you on the manual. There. You can see, I'm not sure you can see it very well. Let's zoom in a bit more. That piece there almost never survives. So you end up with 3/4 of a hole. And that's what I ended up with. And it's a pretty common thing from what I've seen on the 3D sets pages. So we have hood in place and those screws have all stripped. Sigh. Okay, not the end of the world. Leave it there, don't mess with it, Phil. What I would do is I will reprint that whole part and go from there. So let's put this over here. And now we can start working on the cab. Again, I've done a couple of these parts ahead of time, either because they were brittle or because they were painful. Just so you guys don't spend all your time watching me struggle. Okay, we did this part, either last stream or the stream before, and that's just the rear wall of the cab. Press this into place, we cut out the rear window, and we pressed in the surround. That's already done. Let's go back to the manual. Let's just go over this. So, this piece here is the main part of the window stay. There's a couple of support pieces you remove, and then this is the main part of the cab, and these support pieces get removed. These wings on the side of the cab I had all sorts of strange issues in my slicing software. They just weren't being rendered by the slice engine. So they were there in the pre-sliced image, but when the slicer came through and sliced them, just non-existent. But that created a problem because the engine knew that they were there, and therefore I couldn't apply support material. It was a bizarre set of circumstances. I ended up just hoping and praying that it would work. And yeah, I ended up with an okay finish on this particular version. What I've done is I've already partially assembled the front windscreen because I was getting to the point where the clear window was getting scratched and damaged. So rather than allow that to keep happening, it was better to just put it into place. So we already have the window in place here. And we just need to finish putting all the screws in that hold it into place. I've already installed the top part of the cab. It's an interference fit. It's not a good interference fit. I don't know why it's not fitting very well. It should, it's just not. Maybe I need to reprint all these parts at some later stage, but right about now, I just want to keep going and get this truck finished. So that's all the window infrastructure in place, and we are going to need to take some of this apart a little to put the wait a minute, how are you supposed to be able to do that? Because some of those are screwed. Yeah, we're going to have to take it apart anyway. Yeah, screwdriver. If nothing else, having partially assembled it means that it protected the windscreen a little. Right. So it says we need to install the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're in place. Turn that back over. Sorry, let's go to that one. So I've got one screw in at the top. I'm going to put a screw in at the bottom just to keep it all square and held together. And then we'll work out what other screws we need to put through. So there we are. All right. All M36s all the way around. I was kind of hoping that the AliExpress delivery would come during the stream so we could have a quick look at a few of the things I've got. I've bought myself a new tool organizer because, as you can see, I've got everything everywhere and it's kind of working, but it's just not organized. And it's driving me a little bit insane, putting things down and then not being able to find them again. One, two, at the bottom in the middle, and then 4 across the top. And the final one. So we appear to match what's going on the instruction manual. All 6 screws are in. That's not quite as snug as it should be. Oh, that's the misalignment of the roof panel. It's got a panel gap like a Tesla at this point, but I can tweak that. I'm going to tweak that off stream and keep building, I think. So, next stage. Next stage is the floor pan and the rear half of the back. It says to do that part first. That all goes in nicely, and that needs an M38, an M36 on the bottom. So I'm being very, very gentle here, guys, because this is very carefully and gently easing the 2 panels into alignment with each other. And that's on. And now we need the floor of the cab, which is 2 more M36s there, and an M38 up through the middle. I'm going to do the M38 up through the middle first, I think. Aha, that's how it slots. So you kind of have to twist and slot it all at once, and then it just snaps into place. Now the reason I'm doing it this way around is the M38 is at a 45-degree angle, and having that pull everything straight is probably the best way to do it. Not quite fitting as I think it should do, so let's just pop this back out. Pick that screw off just a half turn. Because the part prints on this face, there's a little tiny bit of elephant's foot. I think that's just what's preventing it fitting nicely. Certainly better that time. I'm going to put these M36s in. I think it's going to give me better support, but only loose. From the inside? Yes, from the inside. Am I talking into the ether, or is there still at least somebody here? No one here. There we go. Those snapped in together. Which now should mean this 45-degree screw should line up. But it's not. Nobody at all. I can feel a few crunchy things on the top, so I'm just going to put this kitchen towel underneath to try and save the surface on the plastic. That's better. Okay, that's all together. So let's go back to Chrome. So let's just count this up. 1M38 up the middle here, and 2M36 is up from the bottom, we've already done, and 2M36 is in from the side, which I tightened more than I intended to, and I'm happy with how they are. So we can move on to the next slide. So we need 4 M36s and 2 M38s. We need 2 more M36s, 2 M38s, and we need the mirror pieces. So the mirror gets sandwiched between the parts like this. There. And then the M38s are the bottom two. No, M38's the outer two. Did I get that the right way around? No, I didn't. One thing's for certain, I'd probably fail at building an old school Lego kit these days. The modern kits where they spell it for you in words of one syllable aren't as challenging as when I was a kid, I'm sure of it. Right. Just having trouble getting this all these screws lined up, or screw holes lined up rather. Do those line up? Yes, they do. There we go. Show you guys what I can see. Next, we need those M36s. So they go just above. There must be some there. That's it. Sorry, I know I've gone quiet and there's a bit of dead air at this point. Just concentrating. Last of these screws for this page going in now. There. Next, we have to assemble the dashboard, I think, and the chairs. So next is the chairs. They go in on, they need M310s through the base and just M310s through the base. Now, I've already put the base and the chair together because they were a very, very tight fit and needed a little fettling to get them to go together. Now, it goes in from the outside, which is away from those tabs. So the base has the tabs offset to one side and the screw goes in on the opposite side. Just need a little persuasion to get that screw hole started. Again, screw on the opposite side to the tongs. There we go. 2 chairs on 2 bases. Next page. Oh, apparently you install the chairs, but how? Ah. Now, let's see if I can show you this. In the floor, there's these little grooves, and the seat base. It's supposed to pop into there. It's not fitting. I think there's just a little bit of quite average bridging going on in there. Anything that's sliding in nicely. That'll probably work a lot better. Sorry, I know it's off screen. Let's broaden out a little bit. I'm just trying to get this to fit. It seems to slide in all right from this side, which is strange. And if I try and do it inside, I have a problem. Oh, maybe that was it. There's a screw just been in the way. Ah, what's going on? No. Maybe. So I think I've identified what the problem is. There's a little groove that the base of the chair is supposed to slot into. They're in. They're not exactly aligned as perfectly as they could be, but they're in. Next. Now, choose your own adventure time, guys. How many prints have I had churning these parts out? It's just been my Ender 5. And because the print series has taken so long, it's been able to keep up. Now, choose your own adventure time. Red steering wheel or black steering wheel? Start a poll. There we go. I've started a poll, guys. While we're waiting, let's just check what size screw that's going to need. It's going to be an M38. I'll give you guys like 60 seconds. Get your vote in. Now the good thing is none of these parts will go to waste. Anything that's left over will go in the second truck that I'm building for my son. This one's for my daughter and my son wants one as well. 30 more seconds, get your votes in. We have a consensus. Everybody wants black. Okay, we're gonna go for black. Got to burn your hands, we're not holding it. Okay. So screw through from the back is an M38. Where did I put it? Yeah. I've just not had a good time with this run apart. The hole in the middle is way too big. Never fear, we can fix this. Rubber sheet set. Got to admit, I have been dying to use this. We built it on stream, what, 2.5 months ago, and it's still never been used. Cable needs to be longer. I wonder. For those of you who don't know, underneath my desk here, I have a 8-port power distribution panel used like in network rooms and rack mounts, and it's just bolted up under the bottom of the table. It means I've got eight power points if I ever need them. So heat set, black steering wheel. And something to prop this up on because it's a bit too delicate to leave it that low. Too high, there. No, I'm only plunging the heat set in like halfway because it's not a structural thing, but I also don't want to plunge it so far through that it mars the other side of the steering wheel and we can see it. So that's done. That can be switched off again. And the stuff this down here out of the way so I don't burn myself on it. And back to this. There we go. That's just bottoming out at the right spot so that it sits the right way up, that way. Now this screws up from underneath, I think. No. Yes, it does. 2 M36s. So center console is in. There are some laser printable decals you can do for the center console. To be honest, I haven't thought that far ahead yet. There we go, screw holes line up. Steve, on the subject of black interiors, I can tell you exactly why they have black interiors. It's because we all have grotty kids who slime up the back seats of our cars and make them disgusting. I just detailed the back of the current car we have seats. Sorry, the back seat of the car we currently have, just to make it presentable for getting it trade valued for the trade-in. And last night, my daughter got into it with Play-Doh all over the soles of her shoes, and it's now like a crime scene. Now I've just noticed there's supposed to be 2 holes here, and they haven't. There we go. Big air conditioning. Yeah, most I think most people would be surprised to learn that Aussie cars only really got air conditioning in the last 15, 20 years. Before that, it was all premium brands, not general run-of-the-mill cars. Doors! Okay, now this is another section where I've been cheating on you guys a little bit. I did partially assemble these windows just to get an idea of how they worked, because they are a beast of a thing. There's lots and lots of moving parts. Now, the window panes are in here, I hope. Yes. So just like when I was cutting out the rear window last week, it's just a case of get a razor blade and slice things, and hopefully not your fingers. So that panel comes off. Need my steel straight edge. Where did I put it? There. I was told that the templates weren't 100% accurate and I might need to further trim, and that's definitely the case. So I've just taken off about 0.5 millimeter from that edge. And looks like I need about the same off that edge. That now fits perfectly. All right, first N36 is in place. That window panel has moved a little bit on me. That's better. More M36s. First window installed. Suspect we're going to have to do the same trimming on this one. I must have been really inaccurate with cutting this one. So that's better. Next, there's one M36 there, one M36 there, so we've got a pair. That goes on there, screw goes through. Right. Let's widen that out. We don't need to be. There we go. Second door all put together. Now, there's a whole bunch of fiddly things we need to put together next. So, I'm going to turn that off. Yes. I'm just going to put the template away. And go to the manual. So, what we've got is some fiddly stuff. Got an M38, which then needs to go through the upper half of the mirror and into the top of the door frame. We've also got the door handle, which needs to be slid into the lower half of the door frame. This should be manageable. So, for clarity, there's a little dimple on the inside of it. You might be able to not be able to see it easily because of the reflection. There's a dimple, and there's a corresponding groove here that it slides into. Am I doing this the right way around? Yes, I am. Yep. So that's the door handles in place. And next we need to do these mirrors. So it looks like the vertical halves are both the same. It doesn't matter which way around I do it. And there's some sort of tongue and groove situation going on here. So let's go back to the manual just to point this out. What we're dealing with is this piece here. There's a very small tongue and groove kind of situation for sliding those two pieces together. And this is really, really difficult. There we go. That's started to slide in. Done. It just suddenly decided it wanted to find its home. And so is that one. Huh. Just needed me to pay a bit more attention, I think. Okay, so mirrors. I am tempted to cut a little bit of foil to put into the what should be the mirror surface, but that'll be for another day. So M3/8 through the top of that. And we are 20 minutes after the end of my normal window, so I think what we'll do is as soon as I've got these mirrors attached, we'll call it, and we will then attach the doors next week and maybe start on the core one depending on how things are playing out and if it gets delivered in time for the stream. So that's the other door. Now, just a reminder again, next week's stream will be a day earlier, and I'll time it so that it can be Jeremy and Keeler can read out to me. So, mirror all attached. I was hoping to get a little bit more progress than this. I was actually hoping to have the cab installed. But bearing in mind we had to backtrack quite significantly for that rear suspension, I'm not unhappy. And that's also done. So just a quick dry fit for you guys so you can see how this all goes together. That's the other door, that's this one. Now I knew that I was probably going to have to adjust that because there's a bit of elements for it because this is the printed plate surface. That simply slips into there and then the lock, there's a little groove there that it slides into. But yeah, it's starting to look like a truck, guys. So with that, I will wind up. Let's go back to just me. So where are we at? Next week, we are going to be streaming one day earlier. We're going to be streaming Tuesday night to US, Wednesday morning Australia. It'll probably follow directly on from the Lee Marine stream. So if you're on there, I'll get Jeremy and Keeler to raid out to me. And from there, we will, if the core one has turned up, maybe do an unboxing. Or we will finish the truck off depending on what's actually, whether it's actually arrived or not. So with that, I have been Phil, I have been the Down Under Maker, and I will see you all next week. Time for me to hop on out of here. Thanks, guys.